Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hello, everybody.
What's up, guys?
Welcome to the 116th Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm Milan Starcic with co-host Andrew Norman and Jim Oakville. That's right. Today's topic is how to deal with big changes and challenges. Can you share what this means to you, Andrew, and why you're happy to discuss this here today?
I would love to. What's up, Jim? Missed you, buddy. Love you, man. Love you.
Yeah, you
Good to
too,
see
bud.
you again. Good to see you.
Yeah, we gotta do this more often.
I know it's been too long. It's been too long. So, challenges in recovery. This is this is an open field on this one, man. You know, when I was in active addiction, my only challenges were whether I had drugs or not. You know, or I had enough to get me through a couple days where I wasn't feeling it. Everything else was drowned out. Everything else was completely drowned out. Like I was taking care of other things to stay alive, right? Just basic needs, eating when I was extremely hungry, right? It's just not a normal life, and our challenges are not normal when we're wrapped up in that disease. So life got real when I got clean. Life hits you in the face. It did me. And then we get into a whole nother set of challenges, right? After we finally get through that main challenge of saying, hey, I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic, whatever it is. I had to face those life situations. And how do we do that? There's a lot of things that come up: losses of loved ones, financial instability, mental health issues, broken relationships, loneliness, isolation, boredom, complacency. I got a lot of things written down: cravings, triggers, facing the wreckage of our past. There's a lot of challenges that come to our plate now that we're starting to thaw out a little bit, is kind of how I look at it. And the way, here's the truth, right? Challenges don't have to be threats. They can be invitations. That's when I really started thinking about it, is these challenges don't have to threaten us anymore. If we don't let them, they can be our invitations for growth. They can be invitations to lean into our fellowship, to our program, to see what we're really made of. So when we put a different spin on it, like that, and we'll get into some questions and we'll pass it around, but I mean, that's kind of like the opening to it is can we see these as invitations and not threats, right? And then going forward, how do we overcome those challenges in a healthy way without using the drugs that we used to do or the drink that we used to do, to drown out those emotions and challenges, right? I know when I was in active addiction, I used to put a drug on it and deal with it later, right? And then when it came to that point where it was make or break on that situation, I would either do it or not, and I would just move on, and I didn't give a shit, man. I was wrapped up, so I'll pass that to you, Jim. Love you, man. Miss you.
All right. My friends, Alcoholic Jim.
Great to have you here, brother.
New Year's Eve 95. So I've been here a bit, and over the years, the challenge, like it's been mentioned, the challenges do come. We were looking for a topic, and it was last Thursday, and that was the day that my wife went for a biopsy. So tomorrow we find out. So we've got some big challenges and big changes possibly coming. So that was the motivation / inspiration for today's topic. What you call a big change or a big challenge does evolve into bigger things. Because as we know, the big guy upstairs does not give you anything more than you can handle. What's a big challenge in year 2 might be a small thing in year 22. But it's like, I don't know what to do. I'm just here. This is something that has returned, and you're with a loved one, and there's big challenges coming up ahead. I'm sure there's going to be surgery and all kinds of other things coming, but the answer to all of that is pray on it rather than it praying on you. And I have had a series between Christmas of 2014 to about 2017. Every 6 months, a very significant life moment has happened. In that 3-year period, I lost my brother, and you know, dealing with the funeral and all of that, and somehow, I prayed on it so it didn't prey on me, and by God, I got through it. Then there was a home invasion. My mom got hurt. Then I moved out here. Moving's a stressful thing. Then I lost a job after moving out here. Then I lost my dad. Then I lost my mother-in-law. And then finally in 2021, I lost my mom. So every 6 months, something comes this way. And yeah, deal with the best you can. If you are falling in on yourself and using artificial crutches to deal with it, you're making it worse. You're digging a hole deeper. Or so that's respond, or that's react, or I can respond. Other people have lost, I also had a bout of cancer in there. Mine was lucky. I was really early detection, early solution, no further problems. These dark times do offer opportunities for you to reach out to other people who may have had the same thing. And you can actually ask for help. And God knows our tribe, we love to help each other, and we do. Other times, you can catalog your own experiences and be ready because someone's going to ask about it again. Everyone has a pair of parents, and you're going to lose them both at some time. Parents shouldn't lose their kids before they go, but it was pretty tough. The disease took my brother at the age of 51, and it's changed my sobriety a hell of a lot. These challenges, early days I heard this sort of thing saying, nothing in front of today, because of AA, because of a higher power, no problem in front of me is any match for the power that's behind me. And that we do have the inner resources sometimes to deal with these things very quickly and efficiently, but sometimes it takes a lot of time to deal with it. I ended up losing a job, and it took me 17 months. When you're 55 years of age, it's hard to get another job, but I finally did through family, because I made a choice to go to a funeral instead of a job fair. And at the funeral, one of the relatives was the vice president of the company that I finished my career at. So it did help a lot. And that's, right place, right time. But yeah, these challenges, like sometimes these challenges happen over and over again too. And you get the opportunity to practice what you learned already, because there may be new nuances that you have to deal with now that you've never dealt with. I mean, when the first one goes, that's fine. When the second one goes, now I got to deal with probate, etc. Go down that road. Before my mom passed away, her dementia required her to go into a retirement home, and there was a whole series of things there that I had to deal with. Moving day was an ice storm. Anyway, stuff. But it's just stuff. It's just life experiences. You gotta keep going on. Don't stop. The light at the end of the tunnel is not the train anymore. Well, that all pass.
Love that, man, and I love you. My love to Ginny, man.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, boy, and this is a wide topic. But for me, what came through is, one of the earliest podcasts we were talking about acceptance. And one of the things that was spoken about was embracing the constant state of change. And that mindset, like that's like the ideal goal for me, to be able to embrace that constant state of change. And then meeting another person in the program here back in March, she really practices finding gratitude in all circumstances, even in the most challenging ones, and giving gratitude in that. And so it's been something that I've been really implementing into my own prayer especially when I'm having some real challenges. I'm trying to pray gratitude for what what ability I already have to cope, for these tools that I'm given to deal with it, and for the opportunity to find a lesson through pain, and there's been some times this year where, I've definitely felt some crippling stress from things, and it's really helping me to personally to deal with it, and like without the tools of these steps, I'm certain I would not be sober. Like my go-to was more. My go-to was more, and whatever that was, I was going to numb myself. I was a more specialist, and that more, was running and hiding and not dealing with stuff. And I was great at that. And it's funny. I was at a meeting last night, and this lady was talking about. She was talking about how, like, when her life was really out of control, her only way to control it was to light the match and burn it right to the ground. She's like, I had no way to turn it around to a good thing. So she's like, my solution was to just fucking tragedy it. Like let's burn this right to the ground, because it was the only way that she felt any control inside, like crazy relationships or losing jobs or whatever. It'd be like, well, then telling her boss to go stuff it or whatever it was. And I thought about that, and I'm like, man, that echoed to me in my own sense of self-sabotage throughout my life. And I think it was really funny that I heard that last night right before I came here, because it does kind of fit in with this, because you can, what is it, fear everything and run, or face everything and rise. And really how we handle these changes and challenges shows what we've learned or where we're at, and I've certainly had some challenges. And like last summer, July, Jim, I found out my daughter had cancer. I mean, it's something that you don't want to hear from and about any loved one. But the one thing that I really was adamant about, in my own acceptance of it, was that that's not about me. It was about her. And I can't drag this into the Milan pity party situation. I had to like step back and realize I have to be the rock for her. It's my turn to be that rock. And no matter how I'm hurting, that is so secondary to what she's experiencing.
Bingo.
Yeah, oh, totally.
That's
And
beautiful.
yeah, I'm going to leave that there. And Andrew, do you want to ask Jim a question?
Absolutely. I want to throw this in there. I know Jim will appreciate that. You talked on the fear piece, right? Fear is just an acronym for false evidence appearing real. Fear, false evidence appearing real, man. It's just
Yeah.
it's all our mindset on it, right? So I'm going to ask you this question, Mr. Jim. You ready? Or yeah,
Yep.
Mr. Jim, you ready? So how do you handle emotional pain without using or drinking today?
Uh, didn't use much. Right now, that just has been mentioned. I know there's a place for me right now with what's going on right here, right now in my situation. And that would be the last thing that's needed. It would just destroy absolutely everything. Um, you know, just be there is what I'm trying to do, and that's the prayers of coming back is just the answers that are coming back are just do what you can. Don't worry about what you can't do, but do what you can. Try and do what's needed. Try and do both. But I don't think this is going to make me drink. I think the loss of relationship might be a little more triggering than that. But I go to more meetings. Try and do more. Um, but right now, it's like I'm going to a meeting today, and I might even go to a second one today.
We're having one right now.
Yeah,
We
there'll
are.
be a third. There'll be a third one today. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Right now, I'm trying to my job. I see it. is if I'm focusing on someone else and I'm not focusing on myself, then I have a much better chance of going down that rabbit hole, going down that black hole. Um, yeah,
That was beautiful, man.
yeah.
Hey,
So
look,
that's it.
it's really hard to use drugs in a meeting, Jim. You know what I
Yeah, it
mean?
is.
Like it's
Yeah,
really hard to use or think about drinking it, and it really, the
yeah,
gratitude
but
part that you
I
feel.
can still sugar me up though, and get crazy on sugar,
Yeah, man, no doubt, no
which
doubt.
is another podcast
Get
possibility.
get jacked on the bean, right? The coffee bean. That's what we used to call
Yeah,
it, jacked
no,
on the
actually,
coffee
no.
bean.
Yeah. Jack down the
I've
beanstalk.
just come back from a yoga class and I bicycled to my first meeting, so I'm doing things like that, which is better for me. So
Absolutely.
That's
yeah.
awesome, man. That's awesome. All right, Mr. Milan. So,
Uh-huh.
how do you handle emotional pain without using it today?
Well, first thing I think for myself right now is I try to halt. Like I try to like step back, look at if I'm hungry, angry, lonely, tired, because when jerk face comes to town, it's generally one of those times, right? And and then quite often these days, I'm really praying. Like I'm praying on my walking. I'm walking and praying, and I'm doing a lot of walking, so there's a lot more praying happening, and and also, yeah, I mean it is, and it's really some physically conscious contact with the universe, right? And that's it's wild, really, what's happening there in a part of my life, and also too, I'm talking about it with people, and I never was able to talk about it in any kind of mature or honest method before. Like I have a sponsee who had some struggles this spring, and so him and I are doing like we're doing like a daily call and check in on spiritual principles, and the way that like it's from this list of 100 that I downloaded for us, and the way that our lives are going along with these principles every day is just an absolute insanity. It's almost like the lesson for tomorrow shows up in the principle today. And then with that in mind, we go in and then something presents itself, and it's like an opportunity to talk about yesterday's principle again, and so, but my relationship with him is that it's like inside this program, I have found men willing to talk about real life things, you know? And there was just so much superficial shit to my life inside addiction, where if there was anything talked about, it was just a pity party. It was a pity party on both sides. And it wasn't actually like any kind of working through it, or even just discussing it like we are now. Like, like what is your solution? There was no solution. The solution was complaining about it, and then it was like an out pity party, like who could be the most piteous. And
Beautiful.
it was like I look back, like I got one friend, man, I'm like, that was the only thing him and I did. It was the only thing. And I was just like, whoa. And now I'm like, I can't hit the ball back now. I won't hit the ball back, and it's kind of awkward. But yeah, so I'm gonna leave that one there. I love you
Beautiful,
guys,
man.
and I'm really grateful to be here with you guys today. I was so looking forward to this the last couple of days and this morning, and I'm
I
just
was
happy to
too.
share our time.
I
Yeah, I
was
heard
too,
heard a
man.
good one this week. It was sometime God gives us the exam before the lesson.
Okay, okay,
Ooh,
I thought
okay.
you'd
I
like
like
that.
that. I like that. I like that. I've
yeah.
got a couple that are like kind of close that in relation. I'll pop them at you a little bit later, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and look, I just wanted to I wanted to say, Jim, not to get back into it, just thank you for being here today. Because I know you're going through some shit, man. And so
Yeah.
it's really, when you come on here and I'm looking at your face and what it does is it allows me to feel your emotions. It allows my heart to connect with yours, man. And so I really feel something when you come in here. And what you're doing is you're working your program. You're overcoming your challenge right here, being on this podcast right now, because it's getting you out of your head and you're working your program, man. And I'm proud of you, us. This whole thing, man, is what we're doing. It's this thing happening in real time. So
I
it's really,
love how
really
it heals my heart to be here. I honestly do. This is like a little healing time and center of my week all the time, all the time.
Absolutely. And the other day, Milan, when you said something about how you were hop, skipping, and jumping down the stairs, coming to a meeting with me and Brandy and all that, that was me this morning. Like I got out of bed and I was popping around, got my coffee. I'm like, man, we're gonna see my man Jim today. We're gonna be on a podcast, and I know I'm not gonna be using while I'm on it, and we're gonna talk about some problems, man, and how we get over them. And so, this thing comes full circle. Obviously, putting a drug on anything is not gonna help it. Right. Or drinking on it is not going to. I've never met anybody in my life that's ever said that they put a drug on any situation and it got better. Ever. It hasn't happened. So I'll answer my question. So how do I handle emotional pain without using? Well, obviously, when I got clean, the whole thing changed, because before that, I just used drugs. Right. And I remember the first time that I really did start feeling that emotional pain that I used to in active addiction, but I was clean. And I started feeling that panic. It's like that panic feeling. And I didn't have the drugs to put on it. And that was my release. My release was to go use. And I didn't. I remember sitting in that feeling, and I remember calling, like I had just gotten a new sponsor. I had got my first sponsor. I was green as cat shit, man. And I remember I called him.
I'm sorry. Green's cat shit just fucking hit me with
Never heard that one before.
Yeah. So I was green as cat shit, man. And I called him, and he just kind of asked me a couple questions, and to be able to reach out to somebody and talk about what I'm going through, and them to realize that they've gone through it also, and that I don't have to put a drug on it. All we got to do is talk our way through this thing. That's what he told me. He's like, bro, this is the only disease, first off, that has us convinced we don't have it. So we're not, it has us flat out convinced we're not stupid people. But then he said, bro, this is the only disease we can talk ourselves out of. This is what we're doing right now. He said, how are you feeling? He started asking me a couple of questions, and then we tackled it. We tackled my issue, right? And how we kind of came to tackle that, and obviously acknowledging it with honesty. I remember there was a tricky time where I didn't want to work where I worked, and I wanted to leave the job that I had just got, and I had just kind of plowed myself into that position where I was at. I never worked in a doctor's office before, so I was just really squirrely at first, man. I had no idea what was going on, or how to handle patients, or how to conduct myself in a doctor setting. I just didn't know how to do it. I write about my problems today, Jim. Through the pen, I see the light, man. I do a lot of journaling. I do a lot of step work. And when I get into my step work, it gets me out of my head or whatever. The step work is so beautiful, man. If you could just do the step work, it allows me to tackle my day in a systematic way every single day. It doesn't matter where I'm at in the step work either. It doesn't matter what question I'm on or step. It really just gets me focused and honed in properly throughout the day. Where's the pain coming from? What's the fear underneath it? Because when I hit fear, right, I got to tackle it with faith, man. If I can hit fear with faith every time, man, I'm going to win every time. Faith is a lot more powerful than fear. So if I can lean into the faith part, finding answers in the hurt, faith, FAITH, finding answers in the hurt. Like that one, Jim? You heard that one? So that's faith, man. Faith.
Finding answers in the healing, I heard.
There you go. And then you have hope, right? Hold on, pain ends. Hearing other people's experiences. Escaping hell on planet Earth. Come on, man. So I'm already getting flashbacks to our last podcast. So it's hard to go back there.
Yeah.
But look, I called people today and I let them in. I let them into what I'm going through. And then a lot of times when I do that, the other person reciprocates with how I might have helped them throughout that day. And it blows my mind, because it's like every time. Like if I call Milan and and he helps me through an issue, like he's almost more happy about what's going on than I am, because it helps him get him out of his shit for the day.
I love our bro times. Our bro times are priceless, man.
And when you call me, you seem to call me like right at the right time all the time. I work every day. I'm very busy at work, but when you call me, it's like when had just stepped out, or like it's literally every time you call me, Milan, it's like right there at that perfect time where I can pick it up and chat. It's really wild.
I've got a freedom sensor.
I don't text him and say, hey, I'm about to take a break. He just knows. It's kind of wild. So, I think it goes to how we get connected in this program too. We all start feeling each other's, the way we talk to each other, the way we reach out and then don't reach out, man. And then that's when you'll find a friend of yours reaching out because maybe you haven't reached out in a few days. And it just gets us back on track, man. Just gets us back on track. I sink my head into the literature, man. Anything that I'm going through, if I'm coming up with a challenge, man, I just try to relate it to the literature somehow. And what it does is it puts it in words for me. It makes it tangible for me. It's not just like throwing something up against the wall to see what sticks. It's like, hey, I can tackle it with this, face fear with faith, right? It says that a lot in the book. Like if I can stay faithful, right? When fear comes knocking at my door, if I can answer that door with faith, man, faith is not there anymore. So
you mean fear's not there anymore?
Fear's not there anymore. Yeah, that's what
I was like, whoa, your faith ain't gone nowhere.
No, yeah. So faith has stronger muscles than fear, man. It just does. It just does. So with that being said, man, that's kind of the answer to my question. I'll pass it to you, Jim, to ask
me.
Question.
Yeah, no, just going back. I mean, on Sunday, I took a 2-hour drive into the countryside of Ontario. I went to a one-day roundup, and all 4 speakers are friends that I knew. But because of the position I have in AA service, a district treasurer was there, and I was able to have a chat with them and give them some answers to some questions that they had, and I came across a situation that I'm going to try and incorporate into my workshop in November. So, right place, right time.
Beautiful.
Okay. Question of the day then. What's the biggest challenge you've had to deal with so far inside of AA, and out? And part B is that obviously then outside of AA.
Well, okay. Outside was finding out my mom had a couple kinds of cancer. Like and I didn't really start to have any growth or acceptance about that until I hit the program. I actually used it to like pre-mourn her. Like, I disappeared in my own pity party of usage for months. And it was really kind of pretty pathetic, wasting valuable time with someone you love that's sick, right? And that's kind of where, I feel like I really, upon reflection, learned that it really is not about me. And that's where, fortunately, the step work and that, and then the other one, really was finding out my daughter had cancer last year. And that was, that's every parent's worst nightmare, and to be honest, I never saw using as a solution for it. And I think I've actually been able to get through it like a champ, and for once be the rock for my family. And I'm not saying that boastfully. I'm saying that they really needed me, and for one time, like one time out of a freaking thousand, I got to be that rock for them, and they needed it, and that was good. And so yeah, I would say those are the two. And yeah, they're not, everything else pales in comparison to those things, really. I'll leave it there.
I'll take that question, Jim.
You
Thank
want to
you.
repeat it?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah. We need repeating.
Okay,
We're weird. We're weird. Yeah.
Big challenge inside of A, and the biggest challenge outside of A, because there's a reason for this.
Well, if I was in AA, I would tell you, but I'm not in it. I'm just joking, man. So my biggest challenge is, wow. When you said that, I mean, I had a really good friend in the rooms that we lost. I've talked a little bit about him on this show. Paulie, that was a big one for me. But when I started thinking about your question a little more in depth, my biggest challenge personally was learning how to live with myself. I didn't like who I was, man. I really did not like who I was, so to be honest, fully, when the drugs were gone, I was so raw, man. I felt so raw. I felt like I didn't feel like me, man. I felt like I was I was watching myself from an outside perspective, almost from a third person perspective. And I felt so uncomfortable. And I had no other thing. I had nothing else in me other than to sit in these rooms and listen. I mean, I painfully listened and sat in pain for a while, and cried, man. I cried a lot, dude. I cried a lot. I talked on this the other day. Like, if you don't ugly cry your first year, once or twice in your first year of recovery, you're not going to stay clean long term. I'm talking about really nasty, ugly cry where your mom doesn't even want to like know who you are, right? And like she will not claim that baby, kind of cry, and that was when somebody told me that really early on, and so because I used to fight back these tears, man, and as a man, I think I'll keep it on me. I was always taught to fight back those tears, right? Like, don't cry, boy. We'll give you something to cry about, right? And so I remember the first time when I actually let that switch go. There's a switch that you try to hold those tears in, and I remember letting the floodgates go on that switch, man. And that was a beautiful time when I was able to do that. And tears are so they're so therapeutic. Tears are. I used to cry just because I just didn't like what was going on. I was in pain because I didn't have my drugs or enough drugs. I didn't see an outcome that was going to work for me. And now I can cry because I'm a human being, right? Like I can cry and know that like I can be tapped into my emotions and not be ashamed of it today. That's a beautiful thing, man, is knowing who I am and knowing that like I might have to cry today, but like I'm not worrying about what you're thinking about me when I'm crying, right? Like I'm like that was a big thing, is I was always people pleasing, worrying about what other people thought about me. And I no longer live there, man. I no longer live in that place anymore, man. I do things
Mhm.
for myself, for my family. Look, since the last time we talked, Jim, I went to go see my girl in Louisville. She got down on one hand and knee and asked me to marry her, man.
Oh,
Like, it's wild. Things are going great in my life, and it's because I just continue to stay tapped into you guys, man. We come across these problems. I have people that can help me through them today. I seek professional help if I need it. That's another thing that people don't think that is okay. Like, it's like a faux pas thing to go get help and treatment from a therapist or a doctor, man. It's what they're there for. I embrace structure and routine today. Um, because when I came in here, I heard all these stories where people would lose loved ones and go through some of the most heartbreaking shit I've ever heard, and they would always come back at it with, the last thing I wanted to do is use drugs. And I would hear it all the time. I hear it constantly, and so I knew I was in the right place. That if I was going to go through things like that, like I was in the right place. And I was told when I got in here that there were two things that were going to happen that was a guarantee if you stay clean. That you're going to lose people, and that you're going to owe people, or people are going to owe you money. It's kind of crazy. I've talked about that too before, and both of them happen. Um, but I just leaned into my program. My sponsor is an amazing man, and I built a very strong support network around me. So when I run into these issues, like you're doing, you're talking about it, man. You're going to get that test, you're going to get some results, and you're talking about it on the front side, Jim.
yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. It allows us to try to just help you get out of it for a little bit, man. My heart really goes out to you, and I love you to death, and I appreciate you being here again. But that was my answer. I don't even know if I answered the question, but I think I did,
Yeah.
kind of.
I think so.
Okay. My turn to answer my own question.
Yep.
Well, in first place right now, biggest challenge so far is loss of my mom, but that changes to second place starting tomorrow. Um, I say that because in late 17, my dad had a stroke and died in 23 days. And my mom, who had dementia at that time, was living by herself. God came through, and I managed to get her to retirement home within 4 months, with the great help of the neighbors and friends. That she's in Ottawa, which is 4 hours away from Toronto. Um, the hardest thing was to hear that that thing that was on her leg is a melanoma, and we can't operate. And she's 88. She's had a great life. We're not going to do anything. And so, like you said, I know that it's coming. It's coming faster than I expected. I don't know when. Um, God's grace started giving her pains around St. Patrick's Day, and she was gone by Mother's Day. So mercy sometimes is the avoidance or the non-occurrence of really bad things. Yeah, so that was a bad one that was coming, and of course, it compounded that was with the lovely pandemic at the time. Um, because I didn't or couldn't deal with final matters in a proper way, I've put off a lot of other things, and so I ended up spending an extra year longer in the legal process than I needed to. But anyway, that was a big one. The B part of the question was in AA. When there's not enough life, not enough going on, I can grab onto too much, like Dr. Morrow or Dr. Moore. I would go back to a situation. It's 2010. I'm a DCM. I'm also an accountant. I'm also the treasurer for a 3-day conference in March. It's tax season in April, which is a sideline thing I do for other people. Quite busy with that. May is a series. There was a series of I think 9 meetings in 13 days. Because I'm attaching to it more, I end up starting 2 relationships, not 1, but 2 at the same time. And guess what, boys and girls? They had the same sponsor. Oh, that was fun. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I literally you can't do too much. You can do too much service in AA. And if you're doing too much service, how stable is your 3-legged stool? Because if it's all one-sided, the other 2 are you're gonna fall off because it's
Gotta tip over, son.
yeah, that's
Tipping
right.
over.
On the ground you go. So there's this thing about you get bored, so you say yes to things, and you say yes to things, and of course, um, being ADD as well as an accountant, that's great combination. Um, Being a DCM and making sure that all the positions are covered. So I was wearing a couple of subcommittee chair hats as well. And I didn't have a secretary. Oh, I was doing just way too much. And a 9 to 5 job that really wasn't 9 to 5. It was more like 9 to 7. So yeah, burnout is a big thing. So you got to watch for that. And that's take that one all the way back. And ego's in there somewhere. Pride's in there somewhere. Uh, Fear of loneliness is in there somewhere. You're always doing. You're always being around people. So that was my biggest one that I found that somehow I got through it. My outside help suggested that I stop everything, and I just basically said to him and to my sponsor and to the last remaining one of the 2 that you know what, in 9 days' time, this all goes away, and it did, and I just relaxed for the rest of the term, and it all solved itself out. But things happen, and tomorrow my life begins a whole new chapter, and it may impact what I do in the future, both inside the rooms and outside the rooms. We'll wait for it to come. We'll deal with all the social engagements that have to be canceled or not, or rescheduled or not, and just stay in the now is the solution to that one. And that's really about it.
I'm here if you ever need to call in the next while, Tim.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah.
Ditto, man.
Absolutely.
Ditto. You got my number
Yeah.
2, man. You got my number 2.
Put it in the chat.
Yeah.
I'll do the same.
I texted both of you this morning, so you'll have
yeah.
Andrew's on
Okay,
there.
cool.
Yeah, you have mine on there too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you talked about that ego, it just got out, Jim. And then pride.
Yeah, I know.
Pride stands for one of the primary reasons I die early. Remember that shit, man. Pride.
Everything gets oversized.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Milan.
Okay, Andrew, living clean doesn't mean life gets easy. It means we get honest, connected, and willing to face reality. How are honesty and willingness helping you face a current situation?
Honesty and willingness are everything, man. Honesty and willingness. It's the how of the program. Honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. So, in terms of a current situation, I do have some issues going on with my logistics, right? Because I just got engaged, right? So she doesn't live anywhere near me, and I'm really having to stay honest with how I feel about the situation and how I don't want to move. but I'm gonna have to probably. I'm gonna have to end up doing that and
I
making
told
that
you.
leap.
I told you that months ago. I was like, damn, man, you're going to be moving.
You did. You right off the bat, you're like, bro, you're moving, and I'm like, whoa, and I didn't even, yeah.
You guys live
So,
on a horse farm in the Smokies. Don't worry about it.
well, look, I know. So there's that. So I got to stay willing. And actually, now that I think about it, because I don't want to go into that subject too much, Milan, I'm trying to quit smoking cigarettes. I'm trying to quit smoking cigarettes. And look, I wasn't going to really put that out there because my whole way to do that is to stop without anybody knowing. So I'm not going to be like talking to everybody daily on this podcast. I'll make reference to it. But it's really tough for me, man. I'm really having some rough times with it. And I know for a fact that I'm willing. I know the willing part is there. I'm honest about being willing, but I'm just not fully there yet. And I'm one of these people who, like, I'm just gonna stop. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be pretty miserable for a week or two, but I am applying a little bit of step work to it. My sponsor's helping me out a little bit. It's just something that I have to do for myself because I want to stay here long term, man. I didn't get clean to just be smoking more cigarettes, man. I started cigarettes back when I got in rehab 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. I wasn't smoking cigarettes up until then, but the only thing we could do in rehab was smoke cigarettes. So we all became professional cigarette smokers. And so I looked at it as, at least I'm not doing drugs, right? And then it continued. I thought I was going to be able to get off, or I thought I was going to quit them when I left, and I didn't. Again, I'm still not using drugs, right? And so I have to, JJ hits me with this a lot. JJ from West Virginia, love that dude. But he hits me with that a lot, where he had hit a point in his recovery where he felt a slave to the nicotine. And then he almost looked at it as he was working a dirty program at one point because he could not stop this substance that was controlling him. There was never enough, never too much. And he's almost challenged me in a way. He's hit me with that in a couple of ways where he hits me with that conversation. And it's like, bro, are you challenging me, JJ? And that's the way he needs to do it. That's the way I need it delivered to me is a challenge. So that I can be like, man, like you've overcome a lot of shit, man. I've been through hell, and so if I can't stop this last thing, what am I doing? If I can't overcome that last hurdle, what am I doing? So I know staying open-minded to it and willing to the fact, I know I'm willing. I just have to get through that final hump of like throwing the pack away or just doing myself a service and not buying anymore. And knowing that too shall pass. The feelings that I'm going to feel with that shall pass. Everything passes. It's a fact we feel, but feelings are not facts. You know what I mean? And what is it? You can't skip the struggle and expect the crown, Jim. Right? You can't skip those struggles and expect to be able to come out on the other side and have some kind of respect for yourself. You know what I mean? And turbulence is the price we pay for flying high too. Remember that. And discipline without gratitude can turn into obligation. Gratitude without discipline fades into complacency. You can't get complacent in anything that we're doing, man. So I've got to attack everything with a willing mindset. And bro, I put this literature in my step work to everything, man. That's what I'm doing. It works for everything. It works for everything in a positive way. So that's what I'm doing, man. Staying grateful.
Love that.
I want to say one more thing, Jim. This is what you say. Maybe God hasn't given you your next because of how you're handling your now.
True. Stay in the now.
Yep.
Okay, Jim, living clean doesn't mean life gets easy. It means we get honest, connected, and willing to face reality. How are honesty and willingness helping you face the current situation?
Yeah, really. If I willingly unconnect myself and then think that I can solve the current problem by using old methods, it's guaranteed disaster. I have to check my motives, and in checking the motives, you're slowing down, you're taking the 7-second Don Cherry break, and actually thinking and responding, not reacting. I know that I can My initials are JA, justify anything, and or JR, justify and rationalize. Um, and I can get to myself. I can convince myself that what I'm doing is the right thing, and I know damn well it's not. I'm lying to myself. So there's the dishonesty. Um, it's the not just commission, it's omission as well. Um, just not doing something because I'm afraid it's going to, of what it could happen, and I'm totally ignoring possibilities of greatness, not greatness, positivity is maybe a better word. Positive aspects of something, things I couldn't even imagine could happen. You know, reverting back to a big challenge, being the MC for my brother's funeral, then the funeral director comes up and said, I've very rarely have I've seen anybody handle what you've done today in the style that you've done it, and you're just, and as well, yeah, thanks. I can't tell you that it's because I'm a DCM, I've been a DCM, or I've been an area chair, or an area something that I've had to get up in front of 300 people. When you're area treasurer, you're wearing 400 pounds of hamburger in front of 300 wolves. You learn to dance pretty fast. Um, but yeah, if there's going to be blood on the floor, it ain't going to be mine. That's another one I was taught. Answer questions, anticipate questions before they're asked, and if you do that, like you get away, you get to relieve the podium really really easily and really quickly. But back to the question, yeah, just because I'm not using something doesn't mean I've changed. I've just drained the swamp. I have to get rid of those alligators one by one, and over time, you do the step work. You get to know who you are and why you do what you do when you do what you do. And is it good? Is it bad? Or is it ugly? If it's bad, then make it good. If it's ugly, which means probably it's just never been approached because of fear, get some willingness in there, move it from the ugly side to the bad side, and then eventually it gets moved over to the good side. You know, what's the concrete blonde? Stay in the light, keep your target in sight. And another one that I'm debating is there's a song, Jimmy Eat World, but it's called The Middle. And in it is do your best, and don't worry if it doesn't satisfy others. You do your best, and do, things take time, and if you keep working and keep going forward, like, we are, as alcoholics, we're condemned to a life of walking up the down escalator, and the second I stop, I'm in trouble. I got to keep moving forward. Thanks.
Did I hear Jimmy Eats World reference? Did you just hit a Jimmy Eats World reference? Oh my God!
The song is called The Middle, and
I'm writing that down.
Look up the lyrics, and it is friggin' brilliant.
That is so awesome, man.
My next medallion might have stay in the middle to stay in the light.
I like that, man. Ooh, I like that. I haven't heard that Jimmy Eats World in a long time. I like that.
Yeah, it's a great song.
Okay, so I'll ask myself, living clean doesn't mean life gets easy. It means we get honest, connected, and willing to face reality. How are honesty and willingness helping me face the current situation? Well, this year has been nearly fatal financial situation for us from the wreckage of my past. And I kept kind of pushing stuff into the future until it was a point where, like the work wasn't manifesting enough to pay the bills. And it was really looking like there was a good chance that we were going to lose our house this year. And, so I had to kind of stop lying to myself that I was going to solve that problem continuing as I was. So the honesty came into play there of having to go to an accountant and call debt companies and just actually say, hey, what are my options here here's where I'm really at, like, and man, as somebody who was really successful for a bit, that was a lot of shame walking into that. But it's also been freeing in the sense that, a couple steps towards what I would call sanity and safety, like I had to have that willingness to change things. And that willingness meant didn't matter where my tail was going, between my legs or high in the air wagon. I had to step into that and start dealing with it. And basically just kind of cutting everything out of my life that wasn't an essential thing. And one of the greatest things is that, like, once, if I pay my annual fee, these don't cost anything. Like, that's one of the most
Yeah.
amazing things to me is that I get to like record a song or come on here and it doesn't cost me anything,
Yep.
and like, I mean, it costs something annually, but that, if I accrue that and divide it up, it's like pennies per amazingness. And, but so, I can see a light at the end of that tunnel now that I didn't see. That honesty and willingness, like the first thing is, to deal with taxes that were way overdue, that I was catastrophizing were way worse. And my accountant's like, well, actually, because you lost money, you don't actually really owe hardly anything. But in my head, it was this massive thing.
Done. I'm done.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Capital losses against capital gains.
Yeah, exactly. And there was substantial. And so, there was like a physical example for that. But I think that, it was one that really was quite relevant for me. And it was like, surrendering my pride in order to take the steps to move forward. And those steps to move forward were the willingness, you know?
Yeah.
And so the honesty and the willingness were necessary parts for me to not just catastrophize, pity party, delusional, responses. And that's one of the things that the tool of this program really help out with is that if you do the step work and like look at it through a step work sort of thing, your fears and resentments can be broken down into what they're really the source is,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it just doesn't allow us to have dishonesty with ourselves as much. That self dishonesty really taints my chance to even have honesty with others at all. Like if I'm so deluded in my perception of things, then everything I say to you is coming from a point of inaccuracy.
People pleasing.
Yeah,
Denial, don't even notice I'm lying.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Denial. Do not even notice I'm lying.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. And it's not just a river in Egypt either, James.
Nope.
Remember that. All right, I'm gonna ask you a question, James or Jim.
You there?
I'm reading your name off the thing, but Jim,
That's
you
okay.
ready? So, what
Yeah.
tools have helped you deal with spiritual disconnection?
The circumstance, the pain of doing something or versus the pain of not doing something. That's always a great decider. But the tools of picking up the phone when I need to. I've had this incredible streak over the last 6 months. I think of someone, I should probably phone them, but I don't. Thought passes my mind. But the next morning they show up at our meeting. They actually walk in the door and I can have a face to face, which is even better. Um, Tools of um, trying to stay connected, be with my people. I have changed groups, but I'm still visiting the group I've had for the last 9 years. We meet at 7 a.m. daily, either at the church or online in parallel. We're not a hybrid, but we're parallel. I can go to either of the two meetings and get instantaneously connected. Um, I don't read as much spiritual stuff as I used to, and maybe that's for the next little while. That might be a good thing. Um, I do have the benefit of going to a big book study on a Saturday morning, and that sort of straightens up the whole week. But the constant thought that I train myself, I am not the center of the universe, um, which is the opposite of how I kind of grew up. My brother and I were polar opposites. He could do no wrong and I could do no right. Um, he got a lot of approval and I didn't get hardly any. And it was noticed by friends and friends of family and family of friends. Um, it sends us off in certain directions in a psychological fashion or an emotional fashion or a spiritual fashion. But just knowing that that thing that sits up here, that talks into here, um, I can believe it. I can trust in it. I've actually had prayers answered. There's three answers: yes, no, and not right now. Um, sometimes it's okay. The yes is some case. Okay, smart ass, you asked for it, and I said a prayer. I gave a laundry list of certain qualities I was looking for in someone, and I got that and a whole lot more. And then I just surrendered, and there's been places in my life where I've totally surrendered, and the right answer has appeared, whether it be, you know, partner or job or finance or marital status or legal issue, whatever. Surrendering and let it happen. Be in the now. It's what it always comes back to: be in the now. Have a sponsor, have a board of directors. Even you don't have to have just a sponsor. You can have a bunch of people that you trust, like this joker in the top corner here. I've met him, and it's like twins, Basil, twins, right away. Well, now we're triplets, but anyway,
We certainly are.
That's
we
right.
certainly are.
That's right.
East, west, and south. Oh yeah, yeah. But that there's comfort in just that statement I just made with you two clowns. I love you both, and I
Love you
can say the
back,
word
man.
clowns, and
Dude,
I'm not trying
it's
to
an
offend you.
honor to be your
Hell
brother,
no.
man.
Yeah,
Hell
it
yeah,
is.
it's an
It
honor to
is.
be a clown with you, man. I'll be a clown any day with you, brother.
Yeah, we'd be clowning for a long time.
Facts. Big facts.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway,
Love you, man.
no, it's just try and stay in the now. Don't be pity party table for one. I don't need that. That doesn't help anything. Complaining
I've
doesn't
heard you
change it.
say that, Milan, before. Did you get that from Jim? I've heard
No,
you say
no.
one of y'all got that from each other because y'all pity party one. That's awesome.
Table for one,
I
please.
love that. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really funny.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Love you, bro.
Yeah.
You want to ask
this
me
is the
that
highlight-
question,
this-
Andrew?
Yeah. You ready? Are you done, Mr. Jim?
No, I was
Awesome.
just gonna say that this is gonna be a fabulous day. I had a back injury yesterday that prevented me from going to yoga, but today I went to something stronger, and I've got this, and I'm going to physiotherapy, then I'm going to go to a car show and another meeting. So it's gonna
Keep
be a good day.
it going, man. That's what I'm talking about. Man.
Keep yourself
Glass half
busy.
full, baby. Glass half
Yeah.
full, man.
Yeah.
All right, Milan, you ready?
Yes.
What tools have helped you deal with spiritual disconnection?
Ooh. Well, I would say prayer and meditation, first off. Like there's a reason why it's on the rinse and repeat side of the steps, because I think that I don't think we can ever be like, I've meditated enough. My prayers are over. Like, I think, I just don't think that
I'm
like,
done.
like the
Yeah, I'm
more
done.
I see it, the more I need it, and really, that disconnection is definitely involved in living presently. Like I think James A. Oakville, which I like to call Jimmy O, he also
That dude.
No, there's a guy named Jimmy O. You can't use that one.
Oh, okay.
James Wan you can use.
James Wan. Okay. Sure. I actually had a friend named James Wan, a Korean guy I went to university with.
James Blonde, Agent .08.
Oh, blonde.
James Bond.
James Blonde. Okay.
That's funny.
My floor shirt in university.
Our conscious contact is only right now. And so that spiritual disconnection is when I'm not living there. And it's real easy for me to make up future challenges. Like, that's one of my all-time strengths, which is a weakness, is, catastrophizing and having anxiety about something that hasn't even happened yet. Like and especially with work, because, life is really hard not to have expectations from things that reoccur and reoccur and reoccur and reoccur. Like if 95% of the time somebody is going to react negatively, that one time they act positively in that situation becomes a surprise. Even if I try, like, I'm like, oh, they could go either way. I've done too much math in my life to actually feel that there's the same likelihood of either direction occurring. I was having a conversation walking when Bryant came by on Saturday, and one of the things we were talking about was that, like, the virtual impossibility to not create an expectation, but that instantly robs you from the present moment. Like, you are either going to the past in your mind to formulate that expectation on their actions, or you're going into the future thinking about what they're doing. But you're guaranteed not here right now if you're making or conceiving or living in an expectation. And it is one of the hardest things to release for myself. Like, I don't think, like, I take a step and I expect the ground not to be quicksand. That is an expectation, but it's something I do with every step I take, unless I was living in a Scooby-Doo show, and then I might expect it. But, like, there's so much that can pull us from the present moment, and, we're bombarded with consumerism that you'll be happy when this happens. And where does that make you live? That makes you live in the future. you know I'm going to pull this out and then I'm going to end, but you know if you think about everything being one before the Big Bang, and that time is something that we made up, right? And that actually the Big Bang is still occurring, then we are all one. And there is only one moment. That's right now.
Right now. Cue
Right
Van
now.
Halen.
Oh, it's gone. Yeah,
So you never meet the same person twice, even if you know him.
that's right.
It's true now. I
You
mean,
know?
Because he's actually me.
Exactly. I don't
we,
even
we
know
get
these two
concert
strangers.
and we get concert tickets, and I go into the stadium, sit down, and I have no expectations. Yeah, I've heard of these guys before, or I've seen them before, or not, whatever. I have no expectations, and I'm not disappointed. Same thing when we go traveling. I mean,
Yeah.
never been to these places, don't know what to do. I probably should do more research, but you know what? We're there to relax, so let's just stay on the beach. You know?
I love not researching a trip, honestly.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
I know that occasionally it probably costs me more money. Like, like if I researched it, I could find,
Yeah,
but man, I like rolling in somewhere and being like, I want to be over there. I'm
It's
like,
God's
I go,
will. Like it's God's will to put like I'm
yeah.
just gonna go and it's gonna be a
yeah.
good time regardless. It's
I'm
awesome.
like,
That's
"Ooh,
really cool.
that looks like where I want to be tonight." And then
Bro,
like knock on the door. You got a
I'm
room permit?
I'm 40 years old. I've never ever in my life ever thought that it was a good idea to make a trip without making plans.
Woo.
That sounds wild
Yeah,
to me. That sounds crazy to me. But it's new, something different. It sparks
Yeah.
a
yeah.
little bit of a fun aspect in my brain. So again,
Well,
I'm not
there's
used.
limitations to that. I mean, like, oh, there's a roundup in such and such a place. Okay, Google it. Let's hour and 40 minutes. Let's go.
And
That's
just
one
go.
thing. But getting on a plane to go someplace in a foreign country, you're right.
That
You got
would
to
be
plan that.
it'd be terrible, man. It'd
I
wind up
drove
in the
around Mexico. I drove around Mexico like barely with a map and like
see.
no
I wouldn't do
plans.
that. I wouldn't do
No,
that. No,
Not Mexico.
you would not.
it
No,
was
no,
amazing. It was
no.
amazing.
States maybe, but not Mexico.
I see too many videos. No,
I
no,
know.
no.
I know,
Want
but
a kid? Want to sell your kidney?
I got
All
two,
right.
man. I got two.
That's funny. That's funny. So let's get back on track here. All right. So, what tools
Yeah,
have
I know.
helped me, Andrew, deal with spiritual disconnection? Why? I remember early on in my recovery, there were times where I was trying to tap into that God of my understanding, which I know today God's got me, man. I know for a fact God's got me. But I remember saying prayers, feeling like I wasn't doing it right, and they were almost like, it's like they were hitting the ceiling and bouncing back and hit me in the face. You know, I remember that, and I didn't know if it was going to work for me. But I realized there was a turning point. Obviously, as you stay clean, you start feeling these feelings and emotions, and then you start getting life skills in a positive and healthy way. But I remember the key thing I learned about that was like spiritual disconnection is not failure, it's feedback for me today. Right. When I'm spiritually disconnected, it's a signal that something in my relationship with myself, with my program, with my higher power needs some kind of adjustment, you know, some kind of action. You know, so I look at it as a way where I need to shift something at that point so that I can get back tapped in spiritually, you know. And I've gotten really comfortable praying, man. I pray my ass off, dude. I pray my ass off and I get answers. And so being able to pray and talk to that God of my understanding and be confident knowing that that's the one that I've needed to tap into this whole time. I'm making up for lost time, man. You know, I'm making up for lost time. And every time I talk to him, he's okay talking back to, you know, he receives it, right? I don't get that whole like the ceiling bounces it back to my face, right? He's hearing me. He's hearing what I'm saying, and I got real comfortable that way. I used to pray, so I still do. I have my girl. We pray, you know, my fiance. We pray every single morning, every single night, religiously, not in a religious fashion, but we pray every single night and morning. If we don't, like, we get on each other for it, and we hold each other accountable to that. Because if I don't pray in the morning and at night, something's off. There's always a little something off there. And it's cool because when I feel myself getting off, like that's the first thing that pops into my head is, did you pray today? Or did you pray for it? You know, and then I go to think about calling my sponsor, and then I go, can't do that until I pray. I can't call my sponsor until I pray because my sponsor is going to go, bro, did you pray about it? How free do you want to be? And so I don't want to get hit with that every time. But yeah, fear doesn't stop death, Jim. It stops life. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like we can't let fearful situations stop our life while it's still going on, because this is the only shot we got at this thing, man. This is the only shot. There's no dress rehearsal, man. If it costs me my peace, it's too expensive today, man. It's too expensive if it costs me my peace. I don't need you to come ask me if I want some of it, because I don't need any more chaos in my life, you know. But I do know, as I've stayed tapped in spiritually, the meditation thing is kind of it's something I need to get better at, man. That's my work in progress. But step work, in particularly step 3 and 11, those are my 2 tap back in steps, right? That's my maintenance on the 11, and obviously 3, we come to understand, we make a decision to turn our will and our lives over to that care of God, and we understand him. And then we seek to improve that conscious contact through step 11. So if I really need to get tapped back in, I'll go back and revisit one of those steps or something in the step work, or my sponsor will tap me into like a question or 2 in there that he wants me to do something on. And it's a beautiful way to just bring it back to the program, bring it back to what works. You know, people are flawed, man. But this program that we're in is not. You know what I mean? People are going to let us down, but if we work this program honestly and to the best of our ability, and if we want it bad enough, like this program will never let us down. If something happens in this program and we're not here anymore, it's not because the program let us down. It's because we let ourselves down.
If we go at this with half the zeal we did when we were drinking, ...
Exactly. Yeah.
You
got to chase your recovery like you chase your drugs, if not harder, because we're not getting any younger, Jim. It doesn't get easier to wake up in the morning. You know what I mean? So every day we're getting a little bit older. You know, as soon as that house gets built, it starts falling to the ground, right? It starts decaying as soon as that house is built, right? So we're not getting any younger. And so, but we're not using anymore. We're not drinking. So we got to lean into the natural feelings. Pain is just a way to, you know, there's a purpose for pain today for me, man. I used to run from pain. If I was in a painful situation emotionally or physically, I would just use more. I don't do that anymore today, man. You know, I let it teach me. You know, my past does not imprison me anymore. It's my reference guide. So, all right, man. So
love that.
Yeah,
you guys are relatively new in sobriety and a lot younger than I am. I don't have time to recoup. You know, the situations that I have experienced, you guys may have that still on the horizon. or the things that have come my way, I have to work harder now to keep them than I did to get them. And there isn't time for me to do it all over again. So, which
And
is motivation enough.
if you don't make time for your wellness, you will be
Oh,
forced to make
absolutely.
time for your illness.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, as one of my friends told me one time, if you devote all your health to acquire wealth in your 30s and 40s, when you get into your 60s and 70s, you'll be using all that wealth just to get some kind of health.
Ooh.
And it's
Ooh.
true, right? You
Ooh.
take care of yourselves now, that you won't be the decrepit old creaky thing like me right now.
That's crazy. That hit kind of hard. And look, time is the only
Yeah,
currency we
time is
spend
not your
without
friend.
time
Time
is
is
the
not
only
our friend.
currency that we spend without knowing our ending balance.
Yeah,
Yep.
don't earn any interest either.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, you got a question for me, Jim?
Uh, Ooh, actually, should have written one down. Um, oh yeah, okay. Here's one for both you guys. Are you where you're supposed to be, or are you where you want to be in life in general because of the steps and the spiritual life?
So, for the first time in my life, the first moment of realization occurred last July, and there was like an end of a week where I was like, wow, I'm like, if this week repeated forever, like Groundhog Day you see in the movies or whatever, I could live that forever. It was the first time in my life where I can honestly say that I felt real satisfaction with my life that I have. Was it perfect? Was it easy? No. But, if life went along with challenges like that over and over, I could handle them, and I went to this guy's cake this spring and I really like how he put it. He's like, if you're sober and you have a life of reasonable contentment, you know, he's like, that's enough, and reasonable contentment, it's contentment. That's reasonable, you know? And so right now, gosh, I'm trying to take the shoulda and I deserve and the coulda and the woulda out of my picture because, I can definitely lament all the lost opportunities or all the bad choices. And I can also be like, things aren't happening the way I want them to. And the way that I'm counteracting all that is with the gratitude in my prayer and making that like a really daily thing, like trying to find that gratitude in all circumstances and just really increase my level of surrender about it all. Because right now, I actually have a pretty amazing life. I have a pretty amazing family. I got some awesome freaking dogs. And, I get to spend a morning with guys like you that I love. And right from here, where do I go? I'm going to my home group for, a noon meeting, which is just amazing. And then intermixed, I leave right from that meeting to work. And it's just incredible that I get to do all this stuff. And I'm finding I'm making a lot of time. I'm making a lot of time for walking, fast walking. And that's a life changing thing on my flow right now. Like I literally startled the doctor in the last 6 months of how much my cholesterol has gone down from walking fast. No other implementation of anything. And that feels good. I have pride in the fact that I'm starting to take care of myself because I never really cared. I don't think before enough to feel the discomfort required for the physical action to make those changes. And I'll
Beautiful,
leave
man.
it there.
Love you, man.
Love you too.
Uh,
I love both of you
Repeat
guys.
that.
Hey, guess what, guys? I love you.
Uh,
Love you back.
the one you look at in the mirror, she's the one you should saying that to you.
Well, I think I'm starting to.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
So the question was, are you Are you where you want to be, or where you do you feel you're at where you should be, or where you want to be?
Um, I'll just say yes. I'm where I want to be. Well, actually, I'm where I should be. I'm where I need to be right now. I'm exactly where I need to be right now. I when I start getting out of that mindset, then that's when I start finding myself like complacent in one way or another. And what happens when we get complacent, Milan?
You come place your ass in that seat.
Complace ass in the seat. You know what I mean?
See you at a meeting.
The complacency is a luxury I can't afford today, man. It's one of those things that I got to stay teachable with my sponsor. I gotta stay grateful as I sponsor other people. I got to keep my program enthusiastic. It's like the common cold. Like I got to stay around it to stay subjected to it to be able to keep it. Like this recovery is like the common cold. If I leave it for too long, I'm gonna lose the common cold. I'm gonna lose it. You know what I mean? I won't be in it anymore. And so I got to keep it moving. If I keep it moving, I'm gonna avoid that. And so I'm gonna always stay tapped into me being in the right place. Like I'm so comfortable in my program today, and it took a long time to get there, but my decisions that I make on a daily basis, I really am comfortable with them today. I try to accept the situation as it comes to me, as if I almost like willed it to be that way, and then I act on that situation instead of like looking at a situation and acting like an asshole, right? And then trying to reel back and trying to cover my tracks, right? I try to lean into a situation today. It's a lot easier to lean into something than to fight it. And I used to fight everything, man, because I just wasn't doing the right shit. So, um, I'm fully aware, like it's okay to live a life most people don't understand, Jim, right? Like I don't have to make everybody understand me, and I don't have to prove myself to be here. I used to live my whole life thinking I had to prove myself and prove and all this love and acceptance that we get in these rooms that is freely given. I had to like prove myself to get that. And just having the desire to be here is enough. Like you don't have like people who think that you have to do all this and gear up for like a full-time job in the rooms or something to be in this program. Like you don't have to do anything but show up. And that's enough. Like you're worth it. I see a lot of these kids come in these rooms and they feel it's almost like they don't think that they're worthy of saving their own lives. And that's crazy to me, man. It's crazy to me that like they don't feel worth what we're trying to give them and what this world is trying to give them. And there's nobody in this world, man, that doesn't deserve to know who they are before they go out and do something stupid, right? Like at least find out who you are first, right? Like show your family who you are first before you go out there and do something stupid. You at least owe it to yourself to do that, because if you do something stupid or you start doing these drugs and drinking and you really get out there and you've never really learned who you were first, that's sad, man. That's sad to me. It breaks my heart because it happens every day. People that have been clean, they go out of here and they don't understand what's on the streets and their body's not ready for it, and we don't hear from them anymore, man. And that's sad, man. It's a sad thing because nobody deserves that. I don't care what kind of person you are. Get cleaned out, find out who you are, do a little work on yourself, and show the world who you are. And then if you want to do something stupid, do what you got to do, man. But get a God in your life. Get in this program and get settled, man. Get cleaned out, start eating and drinking regularly and living a life. And if you want to do something stupid after that, do your thing, man. But at least come in here and figure out who you are and get some community, get some feelings, some good feeling shit going on. And then from there, let's talk. It's you can't unlearn the things you hear in this program. When you get in these rooms, you can't unlearn this stuff. So if you go back out, it's like a self-made hell, prison. You know what I mean? Don't let that shit imprison you, man. If you go back out, get back in here.
We got one guy around here who's doing exactly that, and there's a celebration for life next weekend for someone else who made the ultimate bad choice. Yeah. Now the question is about where you want to. I know I'm needed here, right here. Um, yeah, we may squabble and yell at each other and stuff like that. Um, heritage be damned, both sides. We can get quite verbal, but I know I'm needed, wanted, needed, and loved here, as well as my hunger. I just changed because my principles before those personalities has to prevail. And I went to a place that has an energy, and it's a different. I just need new voices. Um, being the oldest one in the room sometimes gets kind of boring, but I do get to remember where I've been by hearing people that have just coming in, and they're constant reminders. But I also need to know where I'm going. Um, I look back on things, and maybe I'm supposed to have done better, but I can't change that stuff now. That water is way down the river now, and it's over the dam, and it's not coming back. And if I look to what I can do next, as opposed to what I could have done, where can I go from here? And then back to prayer, meditation, back to sponsorship, back to connection, back to having people to talk to. Our defiant defiance in the light of actually in the absence of light by alone in the dark in the basement. Those days are gone. And oh, excuse me, while my back screams. Um, where am I supposed to be? Right here, right now. I keep coming back to that song, but that seems to be the theme today is be in the now, be ready to ask some questions in advance, be ready to get the answers when they're supposed to be given to you, and act upon them the best of your ability and learn from it. And I get that that could be the recipe for today and any day.
I love that.
I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going, but I'll be told tomorrow's itinerary tomorrow.
I
Yeah.
love that, man. I love to ask questions in advance or get questions on the forefront. Like if somebody's getting ready to ask you questions, try to what is it? What did you say?
Oh, anticipate questions and have answers
Anticipate
ready for them.
questions. That's right. That's right. I love that. I'm gonna actually really like the moment you said that, I started doing that. Like I love that.
That happened to me at my last assembly. Someone asked me a question, and I was able just reel it off the back of my head, just boom, 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 boom,
I
boom, and they looked
love
at me and they
that.
smiled.
I love that.
Thank you.
I
That was like,
love that.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
simple switch, man. Just gets you
yeah,
ahead of the game.
yeah.
Okie dokie. I've got another question for you, Andrew.
I got another answer for you, Milan.
When the future feels uncertain, we return to one simple truth: just do the next right thing. What is the next right action you can take today, no matter how small?
We did a whole podcast, 2 hours on this, man. I can stay clean just for right now is the next right thing, man. I mean, there have been so many times when I thought I was supposed to do some grand act and I would talk myself out of it, but I stayed clean. And then I would have somebody remind me that if I got in a meeting and I just stayed clean, but I didn't do whatever this thing, I didn't cut the grass, whatever the hell it is. You did the right thing, man. You stayed clean. And that kind of brought some awareness to how simple doing the next right thing can be, but then how massive it is of a decision. Just staying in a meeting, not clean, not using, and going to my job interview has allowed me to be gainfully employed for the past 3+ years. You know what I mean? And it has given me the job that I have now. One simple, I was ready to not go to that job interview, and I could have gone back out, man. Even if I didn't go to the job interview but didn't go out, I wouldn't have this job right now. I'd be somewhere else, right? And that's where you talk about staying present, all that shit, man, and knowing that what's going on right now is where I'm supposed to be. Like we're all where we need to be right now for a reason, or we wouldn't be doing this podcast right now. Our loved ones wouldn't be doing what they're doing. It's all supposed to be happening the way it's supposed to be happening right now for a reason. And you've got to lean into that and stay present, stay connected, like you said. If we're future tripping on all this shit, that man, 75% of that shit we're future tripping on ain't even gonna happen. We're not even gonna sniff that shit. It's not even close. When the 25% that does happen happens, when does it happen, Jim? It doesn't happen when you think it's gonna happen.
It happens when it happens.
It happens when it happens. And on top of that, it happens in the present moment. What are we worrying about it now for? And that's a hard thing to wrap your brain around. And I have to constantly tell myself that too, because I'll be future tripping on all this woulda, coulda, shoulda, and literally mostly, if not all that shit ain't even gonna happen, man. So what's wrong with me that I keep worrying on that shit? And it's beautiful because if I can stay in the now, like when that thing does happen, I'm ready for it. Because I ain't been worrying about the outcome, the before, when it's gonna happen. I'm worrying about all these other things around that don't even make it doesn't even have any
bearing.
Yeah, exactly. It has no effects on it. So gotta stay present, man. If I got a foot in yesterday and a foot in tomorrow, I'm pissing all over today, man. I'm straddled, if you will. You know, so look, this is a program of surrender, not self-improvement. If I can continue to surrender these problems and not throw them in my little hairy God box that I'm not going to worry about, or something that I'm not going to get rid of them, where I'm like, hey, I'm gonna get rid of them, and then I just don't, like Milan talked about the other day, then I'm really setting myself up for this point where I'm gonna have to deal with them at some point. And sometimes I could be more apt to going and out and using drugs than dealing with all those problems if I let them pile up. So yeah, I think that was my answer.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim, when the future feels uncertain, we return to one simple truth. Just do the next right thing. What's the next right action you can take today, no matter how small?
Okay, well, given what I'm potentially facing in the next little while, I'm just thinking about today. I know where I'm going to park the car tomorrow and all that stuff. That's fine, but those are little details that don't matter. Um, I'm just going to be here and ask the question, what can I do now for you? What do you need? What would you like? I know your birthday's coming up, and I've asked repeatedly, and it's kind of been put on hold. But we could sit down with the computer and go into Amazon and go crazy. So, easily solved. Little things. Because I have an idea of who I am and how I am when I am, I do what I do when I do all those things. I know that I don't have to get prickly when my boundaries are being when the barbarians are at the gate and my boundaries are not being respected. But at the same time, I know that I have to give. I'm thinking right now of the sick man's prayer. I'm thinking of do unto others before they. No, that's not do unto others before they do it to you. Do unto others as you would have them do. The golden rule. Um,
That was a bit twisted for a second.
That
Yeah, it was a
was
bit twisted. Yeah, I know. So am I, for that matter.
Twisted Sister.
Yes, no, my twisted sister lives in Windsor. I'm old brother to her. I'm not kidding. That's another story for another time.
Oh man.
Privately, of course. No. What am I doing today? I don't have to stay away. I just have to, judge the moment. Keep maybe the focus doesn't have to be on me for the next little while. I don't have to feel resentful because the focus I'm not the star of the show anymore. I'm here to help. I'm part of a team now. It's not about me. I'm not the star. What can I do? The question I keep asking is, what can I do that is the maximum benefit for the maximum number of people, including myself, but I'm not at front of the list. I'm not, and if I just would just basically stand back and wait and be present and be ready. That's all I can do. And if I can I can offer my experience, I can offer ideas, and whether you use them or not is entirely up to you. And if they don't match your ideals and principles, fine. I'm not offended.
Awesome.
Beautiful, man. Love you, bro.
So, when the future feels uncertain, we return to one simple truth. Just do the next right thing. So, what's the next right action I can take today, no matter how small? And, I really think right at the end there, Jim, you kind of touched on it. It's about being of service in the moment And
Hmm.
and I was listening to this person recently, and they were talking about trying to honor and respect every moment in the best way that it's possible. And so one thing that I've started doing is I look at my schedule for the day now, and I think of the individuals involved, and I actually just am like, okay, I got to go into this really trying to be of service, and just thinking about going into it with that mindset instead of like what I can get out of it or how can I win in this situation. It's a big thing that like poor me isn't getting what he wants. Fuck me. Like, like sorry to say that for a second, but it's really just like, man,
That's
so
funny.
much has been just for me. And I really do want to honor the moment by trying to serve it the best. And so, sometimes it's like, whoa, I'm going to need to slow down. And sometimes it's even slowing down to take care of myself better instead of pushing myself so hard. Like stop trying to fill those spare moments with being more efficient or whatever. And just being like, it'd be good for you to sit down for a half hour and just try to close your eyes or whatever. Like,
Hmm.
sometimes, I'm finding that is a way that I can recenter myself in the day. And that's something that I didn't do before. It was always more. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna leave that one there. And I just want to. We're at an hour and 33 in, and I'm just wondering, how's everybody for time? What are we doing here? Who's does
Okay.
anybody?
I got about 15. We
Okay,
gotta go lightning round, something like
okay,
that.
sure. Why don't we do like a lightning round or two? Because when Andrew says 15, that means 18.
He likes to keep me
18 and
for
33 is
20.
51, so there
Yes,
we go.
yes, yes,
I
yes.
know. Okay,
I'm good at
Andrew,
math.
I'll pull up the timer if you want to start the question to
All
Jim.
right.
So we're going to Jim to lightning round where it's the one
Oh,
minute answers.
oh God. This reminds me
Yep.
of the game we used to play. Well, that's another story. Um,
We call it
thank you.
rapid recovery.
Rapid
Yes.
recovery.
Here's your question, Jim.
What have you done for AA today?
What role does the fellowship play in helping you overcome challenges?
Boom.
Who's on? Me?
You are. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What roles AA play? It's my sounding board. I can go and I can present a situation um, to a sponsor, to a group of people, um, here, there, and everywhere between all points of Ontario now, Southern Ontario. Um, I can go to a roundup and get, all three speakers were old friends, and it was good to hear their story because I serve with you, but I don't know you, but now I do. Um, Knowing that I can pray for an answer, and then I can run what I interpret as the answer because I can warp that too. Um, what does this mean? What does this mean to you? And not that I'm shopping for opinions, but I'm asking for some clarity. Um, and that's it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Milan, up
Yeah.
to you. What role does the fellowship play in helping you overcome challenges today?
The fellowship, first of all, it's really a sounding board, a source of solutions for me. The number of times I hear something that I'm going to need for tomorrow's challenges at a meeting today, if I'm listening and retain it, there's so much guidance. Like I don't have to invent the wheel to like drive in the car. And I certainly don't want to have to stumble through recovery making every mistake that everybody else has made when I'm surrounded by really so much more experience than I have and so much more wisdom. Um, but it's also a source of calibration. Like our conversations mean something to me when I can honestly say what I'm thinking of doing or what I've just done, and have friends close enough to me that are honest enough to say that's crazy or that's not. And I'll leave that there. Andrew?
That's facts, and you are crazy. That's a fact.
I'm the craziest.
So Andrew, what role does the fellowship play in helping me overcome challenges? Well, I mean, it's been everything for me. The fellowship is my safety net. It's my safety net. Without the people in NA, I'd isolate and implode like I used to. I got love and honesty and experience that I've gained in these rooms has been able to show me I can walk through things that I never ever thought possible. And faith. Look, I have faith today, and faith is just proof that we trust God's voice over our own vision. Remember that. And look, I do realize this, that I can't bring medicine to people who love to be sick, Jim. Remember that. Remember that. I can't bring medicine to people who want to be sick, right? And look, today I have my fears, but my fears don't have me. That's a big difference, man. I used to have my fears, and they used to hold my ass, but not anymore, man. Not anymore. And so, with that being said, we are, this is another thing. We get tested most when it's time to elevate. So we're gonna get tested at those times most when we need to push through them. So. Love you guys, man.
Okay, Jim, you got a question for me?
What's the best thing you've done for yourself today?
Best thing I did for myself today was get up and walk. Like I like to start my day with the physical activity, and it's really hot here right now. Like it was like 42 on my parents' porch yesterday, and for you Americans, we're talking like 120 something, but yeah, it was, so I got up, I walked with my wife, and then I walked with my mom, and then I actually didn't do the third walk. I was like, I want to get ready for this and center myself. So today was a moment where I actually made the choice for me and cut out one of the walks just for sanity, to not feel rushed. And I'm glad I did. Done.
Love you, man. Yep. What did I do? Ask me again. Ask me, please.
What's the best thing you've done for yourself today?
I prayed, man. I prayed, and I love myself. That's kind of goes hand in hand is praying and loving myself, man. It got me right with myself today. And so look, my next move matters more than my last mistake. I always got to pray. I got to stay tapped into the God of my understanding. And sometimes miracles are just a group of people with kind hearts, man. Like I got to understand, like these meetings, I can go to a meeting and that's a miracle. Just being sitting in a room full of people that just want to stay clean for today. That in itself is a miracle. And awakening is not changing who you are. It's discarding who you are not. So that's what I'm awakening. And awareness is the foundation of change. I wanted to say that too.
I forgot to put the timer on.
I know. I was in my head ticking down.
Yeah, okay. So, okay. The answer to my own question is I didn't give in to fear, in that I did not allow the back pain that I physically experienced late Monday and all day yesterday to deter me from biking to my meeting to get some spiritual fitness, then biking back to get the car and Madam to go up to our body conditioning class. And I did the best I could without hurting myself. So I'm understanding limits. And then I came here and I did this. So far I've been having a hell of a great day. And,
hell yeah.
It's downhill from here, but it doesn't matter.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
There's a young guy that's at my meeting.
We won't leave.
I'm going to take him to a meeting tonight, and then there's a guy that came in 6 months ago, and he showed up on a Wednesday, as he always does, and it's good to touch base with him. And he's got 6 months sober. I got him started in circus school.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and he's telling the miracle of getting a new apartment across from the biggest park in Burlington. He's got it made.
That's beautiful, man.
Love that.
Hearing good things about other people. Yeah.
Hell yeah, Jim. That's awesome, bro.
Yeah.
Pumps me up, man.
Okay, so I'll pull this in for our last question round here. Big changes don't require big control, Andrew. They require deep surrender. Where in your life are you being invited to let go instead of manage?
Such a hard question for a minute. You leave the hardest question for a minute.
That's a topic for some other time.
That is a whole topic. Fuck, man. I ain't even gonna answer that question, man. Look, mistreating people and avoiding communication is not protecting your peace. It's avoiding accountability. I stay humble today, man. And humility is not thinking less of myself, it's thinking of myself less, right? I don't know if y'all have heard that one before. And I heard this lady, she was 40 years clean speaking the other night, and she was talking about bringing in newcomers, and the only thing you needed was a desire to stop using. And she said, bring your ass and we'll build a person around it. She said, bring your ass, kid, and we'll build a person around it. You don't need anything to be in here, man. And I want to drive that home. You don't have to prove yourself to be in these rooms and these fellowships, man. Just get your ass here, and you deserve to know who you are. You deserve to get clean. You deserve to save your own life, man. Get your ass in here. Love you guys, man. And God can move mountains. You better bring a shovel, though. Maybe two.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Okay, Jim. Big changes don't require control. They require deep surrender. Where in your life are you being invited to let go instead of manage?
That happened about 3 months in when I let go and let God. I put a number on a piece of paper and I got a settlement agreement signed within days, and I moved on with the rest of my life. But today I'm asked to, like, knowing what's coming, I'm asked to be there, be present, be helpful, be kind, be courteous, be supportive, be strong, and deal with what comes. I'm not dictating I didn't write the script. I'm just supposed to read my part.
Love that.
Beautiful, man. I love that, man.
Okie dokie. So big changes don't require big control. They require deep surrender. Where in my life am I being invited to let go of instead of manage? Oh boy. This is not a program of self-improvement. This is a program of surrender. And I am literally the crappiest defect remover in the history of mankind. Somebody gave me a job for 52 years and I sucked at it for that long before they fired me. And so now I really, what in my life, where in my life am I being invited to let go instead of manage? The timeline of my defect removal. That is really where I'm trying to just embrace the rate that is happening at, and pray gratitude for the little incremental changes that are occurring and for the struggles that I'm still having with them. It's really been a wonderful message and education for me to more fully embrace surrender. And it is one of the greatest serenity and peace provoking avenues that I've ever embarked on. And I love you guys. I'm so glad we're here today. Andrew, you got some final words, and then Jim, and then we'll sign off. Okay.
I do. No matter what, listen to this. Someone told me this. No matter how good you are, people will always judge you according to their own insecurities. I felt that shit when somebody said that. And then, again, if you don't make time for your wellness, you'll be forced to make time for your illness. And what someone hates about you is missing in them. Let that shit go, man. So I love you guys, man.
I love that. Okay, Jim, you got something you want to end with?
Just thanks for being here and listening. And I've mentioned my situation to other people. And I'm, people that get prayed for and people that pray themselves always do better.
Good things happen to people who pray and are prayed for, bro. All day.
Yeah, that's right. And I will pass kind words on to G from you, Milan.
And me too. Me too. I'm praying for you and your family.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Love you, bro.
I just want to say, Jim,
no life without it.
Love you, Jim.
Jim, I want you to pick a topic and find a time you want to come back. We want to see you again. Let's not leave it as long again this time.
Yes.
And I really love you guys. Today has just been a bowl of hot porridge.
Thank you for being here, Jim.
And
love
tune
you,
in next episode for more recovery fun.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye, everybody. I love you so. Like this one. Please help us help others. If you like what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.